Desperate measures. Commander Eliza Chen stared at the holographic display, watching as another human outpost winked out of existence. The Voidborn fleet had decimated Earth's orbital defenses in less than 6 hours. Now, 3 weeks into the invasion, humanity was on the verge of extinction. Status report, Chen demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Lieutenant Marcus Rivera looked up from his console, dark circles under his eyes. It's not good, Commander. Lunar base is gone. Mars colonies are dark. The Atlantic defense grid just went offline. Chen nodded, having expected nothing less. The underground command center, one of Earth's last functioning military installations, was filled with the grim faces of officers who hadn't slept in days. The air tasted stale, recycled too many times through failing systems. And the Voidborn ultimatum? She asked. Unchanged. Full surrender within 7 days, or they'll begin systematic elimination of major population centers. Rivera's voice cracked slightly. They're not bluffing. Singapore was just the demonstration. 8 million people, gone in seconds when the Voidborn targeted the city with their gravity weapons. Chen had seen the footage. Buildings, people, even the ground itself pulled skyward, compressed into a singularity, then dispersed into atomic particles. Not even bodies remained to bury. Admiral Hassan, the last remaining member of Earth's Joint Command, entered the room. All conversations ceased. At ease, he said, though no one relaxed. The Security Council has been debating our options. There's talk of surrender. Sir, with all due respect, Chen began. I know, Commander. I share your sentiment. The Admiral's weathered face looked even older under the harsh lights. But our conventional forces are at 12% capacity. Our most advanced weapons barely scratch their hulls. We're out of options. Chen felt something snap inside her. Maybe it was the sleepless nights. Maybe it was watching humanity's brightest minds surrender to inevitability. Or maybe it was thinking about her sister and niece in Melbourne, a city designated as the next demonstration if Earth didn't comply. Not entirely out of options, sir, she said, pulling up a file on her tablet. I've been working on something. A proposal. Admiral Hassan raised an eyebrow, but gestured for her to continue. Chen tapped her screen, projecting images onto the main display. These are Voidborn wreckage sites. Every time they engage our forces, pieces of their technology fall to Earth. Most are destroyed, but some remain partially intact. She swiped to a new image, a schematic of what looked like a hodgepodge of human and alien technology. What am I looking at, Commander? The Admiral asked. A warship, sir. One that combines salvaged Voidborn technology with our own systems. The room erupted in objections. We barely understand their basic propulsion. The power requirements alone would. Their systems would never interface with. Chen waited for the noise to die down. We don't need to understand all of it, she said firmly. We just need to make it work. Admiral Hassan studied the schematic. Even if this were possible, we'd need a secure location, resources, specialized personnel. I've identified a potential site. Chen interrupted, bringing up a map. The Marianas Trench Naval Graveyard. It's remote, naturally shielded from Voidborn sensors by the ocean's mineral content, and filled with naval components we can repurpose. She continued before anyone could object. As for personnel, I need people who think outside conventional military parameters. Engineers, mechanics, hackers, people who can improvise, who understand both human and alien tech. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. You have specific candidates in mind. It wasn't a question. Chen nodded. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo, discharged from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency for excessive risk-taking in xenotech adaptation. Kai Tanaka, court-martialed for unauthorized modifications to military hardware, currently serving time in Fort Leavenworth. Mira Singh, blacklisted hacker who exposed vulnerabilities in our defense networks before the invasion. She continued down her list, naming 12 individuals, all brilliant, all unconventional, all currently considered liabilities rather than assets. Commander, Admiral Hassan said slowly, what you're proposing is our only chance, sir, Chen finished for him. The Voidborn expect us to fight conventionally or surrender. They don't expect us to use their own technology against them. A long silence fell over the room. Chen could feel the weight of doubt pressing down on her, but she held her ground. Finally, Admiral Hassan spoke. How quickly could you assemble this team? 48 hours. Maybe less. He nodded once. You have 72. Requisition whatever you need. This operation doesn't exist officially. I can't spare regular forces or equipment. You're on your own, Commander. Chen felt a surge of determination. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet, the Admiral said grimly. I just authorized what is likely to be a suicide mission. But he looked at the display showing the shrinking areas of human control. Sometimes the only way to win is to change the rules of engagement. 3 days later, Commander Chen stood on the deck of the U.S. Defiant, a decommissioned destroyer that would serve as their temporary headquarters. Around her, the Pacific Ocean stretched to the horizon. Below, hidden in the depths of the Marianas Trench, lay the naval graveyard, a dumping ground for obsolete warships, and now their best hope. Not exactly 5-star accommodations, remarked Dr. Aisha Okonkwo, leaning against the railing. The brilliant xenotechnologist had arrived looking more like a fashion model than a scientist, but Chen had already seen the razor-sharp mind behind the carefully cultivated image. It's the safest place on Earth right now, Chen replied. The trench's composition blocks their sensors, and most of their ground forces are focused on major population centers. Not that it matters, Kai Tanaka said, joining them. The former engineer's prison pallor contrasted sharply with his confident demeanor. If we fail, we're dead. If we don't try, we're dead. Simple math. Meera Singh, fingers constantly moving as if typing on invisible keyboards, barely looked up from her tablet. The others are on the way. Your prison break was quite efficient, Commander. Chen bristled at the characterization. It wasn't a prison break. It was a strategic reallocation of human resources. Meera smirked. Sure. That's what I'll tell the judge if we survive. A helicopter approached, carrying the remaining team members. Chen watched it land, wondering if she'd made the right choices. These people were brilliant, yes, but also difficult, unpredictable, and in some cases, ethically flexible. Time to brief the team, she said, heading toward the helipad. In the Defiant's cramped briefing room, Chen laid out her plan. Using submersibles, they would salvage components from both human vessels and void-borne wreckage that had sunk to the ocean floor. The pieces would be brought to an underwater assembly bay, a former submarine pen built into the trench wall during the Cold War and long forgotten. Our objective is to build a working hybrid warship in less than 7 days, Chen concluded. That's impossible, said Dr. Liu Cheng, a propulsion specialist. It would take months just to understand how their systems work, let alone integrate them with ours. We don't have months, Chen replied sharply. We have days, and we don't need to understand everything, just enough to make it work. And how exactly do you propose we do that? Asked Rita Voss, an electrical engineer with a permanent scowl. Chen nodded to Kai, who stepped forward. By cheating, he said with a grin. Their technology uses principles we don't fully comprehend yet, but some of it still functions even when damaged. We can use those functioning parts as black boxes. Input goes in, output comes out. We don't need to know what happens in between. That's insane, Leo protested. The power requirements alone are considerable, Aisha cut in, but not insurmountable. Their power cells remain operational even when removed from their original systems. I've been studying the wreckage from London for weeks. There's enough residual energy in one void-borne auxiliary cell to power a small city for a year. Kai nodded. We hijack their power systems, use our own control interfaces, and create something neither human nor void-borne. Unconvinced murmurs filled the room. Chen let them voice their doubts, waiting until the noise subsided. "I know what I'm asking seems impossible," she said finally. "But consider the alternative. In 7 days, the Voidborn will begin systematic elimination of our species. We can surrender and hope for mercy from creatures who vaporized 8 million people as a demonstration, or we can try something unprecedented." She looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "I'm not ordering any of you to participate. This mission doesn't officially exist. If you want to leave, now's the time." No one moved. "Then let's get to work." The first dive revealed both opportunities and challenges. The ocean floor was littered with wreckage. Human warships deliberately sunk when too damaged to repair, alongside fragments of Voidborn vessels shot down during the initial invasion. Kai and Leo explored a relatively intact section of Voidborn hull, their submersibles' lights illuminating the strange, almost organic curves of the alien metal. "Structure is intact," Leo reported over the comm. "Material composition is unknown. Doesn't match any element on our periodic table." "Can we cut it?" Chen asked from the command center they'd established in the submarine pen. "Negative," Kai responded. "Our tools barely scratch it." "But," he paused, "the hull sections are modular. They're designed to separate and reconnect, probably for easy repair. If we can figure out the mechanism, focus on components we can actually use," Chen instructed. "Propulsion, weapons, power cells." In another sector, Aisha and Mira investigated what appeared to be a Voidborn engine core. Their excitement was palpable even through the comm system. "Commander, you need to see this," Aisha said. "The core is intact, and it's still active. Low power mode, but definitely functioning." "Can we move it?" "It's big, but yes. More importantly, I think I see how it interfaces with their control systems. It's elegant. Nothing like our brute force approaches." Chen allowed herself a small flicker of hope. "Bring it in, carefully." By the end of the first day, they had amassed a considerable collection of salvage, both human and Voidborn. The submarine pen was transformed into an impromptu shipyard, with teams working around the clock to identify, clean, and categorize components. Chen was reviewing their inventory when alarms blared through the facility. "Voidborn patrol ships," Rivera reported, monitoring their perimeter sensors. "2 vessels, moving in a standard search pattern." Chen felt her heart race. "Have they detected us?" "I don't think so. They're following their usual route, but they're closer than they've ever come before. All teams, silent running," Chen ordered. "Power down non-essential systems. No submersibles in or out until they're gone." For 3 tense hours, they waited in near darkness as the alien ships passed overhead. Several times, the vessels paused, as if sensing something unusual, before continuing their patrol. When they finally left, Chen called a meeting. "They're expanding their search patterns. We need to work faster and establish better countermeasures." "I might have something," Mira said, pulling up schematics on her tablet. "Their communication systems use quantum entanglement, instantaneous transmission regardless of distance. But there's a side effect. Each transmission creates a distinctive energy signature." "Can we block it?" Chen asked. "Better," Mira grinned. "We can mimic it. Make them think this area is already under their control. Hide in plain sight." "How soon?" Mira glanced at Aisha, who nodded. 24 hours, but we'll need direct access to one of their communication nodes." Chen turned to Kai. "The wreckage you found earlier, any communication equipment?" "Possibly," he said. "There was something that looked like an antenna array. Heavily damaged, but the core components might be salvageable." "Get it. Priority 1." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Chen felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. They had 5 days left before the ultimatum expired. 5 days to build something that had never existed before. That night, as she reviewed their progress, Admiral Hassan contacted her through a secure channel. "Status report, Commander. We're making progress, slower than hoped, but we've salvaged key components. Dr. Okonkwo believes we can integrate their propulsion systems with our control interfaces. The Admiral's expression remained neutral. The Security Council is finalizing surrender terms. They've given me 48 hours to present alternatives. Chen felt a chill. Sir, we need more time. Time is the one resource we don't have, Commander. He paused. I'm holding them off as long as I can. But I need something tangible. A proof of concept, at minimum. Understood, sir. We'll have something in 48 hours. After the call ended, Shen stared at the blank screen. She had just promised the impossible. Again. The next morning brought an unexpected breakthrough. While examining the void-borne engine core, Aisha discovered what appeared to be a central control node, a crystalline structure that pulsed with internal light. It's like their equivalent of a computer, she explained to Chen. But it doesn't use binary code or any programming language we recognize. It responds to intention. What does that mean? Chen asked, eyeing the alien crystal warily. Aisha demonstrated, placing her hand near the crystal without touching it. The pulsing light responded, changing patterns as she concentrated. It's semi-sentient, not fully alive, but not just a machine either. Think of it as their version of an artificial intelligence, but one that forms a direct neural link with its user. Chen frowned. Is it dangerous? All technology is dangerous in the wrong hands, Aisha replied. But this could be the key to controlling their systems without having to understand every detail. A shortcut. Or a Trojan horse, Kai pointed out. What if it alerts the Voidborn the moment we try to use it? That's where I come in, Mira said, joining them. She held up a device cobbled together from human and alien parts. I've been analyzing their communication protocols. This should create a buffer, isolate the crystal from the Voidborn network, while still allowing us to interact with it. Chen considered the implications. Using alien technology, this directly carried enormous risks. But if it worked, test it, she ordered. Maximum containment protocols. I want to know exactly what this thing can do before we integrate it into our ship. As she walked away, Chen caught a glimpse of her reflection in a darkened monitor. She barely recognized herself, hollow-eyed, gaunt from sleepless nights and missed meals. But there was something else there too. A determination that hadn't been present before. The face of someone who had nothing left to lose. And perhaps, just perhaps, everything to gain. Humanity's last stand. Dawn of the fourth day brought both progress and new challenges. The hybrid ship was taking shape in the underwater assembly bay, a strange amalgamation of human naval vessel and voidborne technology. Its hull gleamed with the distinctive bluish silver of alien metal, while human components jutted out at odd angles. It's the ugliest thing I've ever seen, Rita Voss remarked, standing beside Chen on the observation platform. But the power readings are off the charts. Chen studied the half-completed vessel. Will it fly? Fly, swim, possibly phase through solid matter. Who knows? Rita shrugged. The Voidborn engine core is interfacing with our systems better than expected, thanks to that crystal thing Aisha found. But there are still critical systems we haven't tested. What's our biggest concern? Rita pointed to where Kai and Leo were working on what looked like a tangle of cables and glowing conduits. Power distribution. Their energy output is exponentially greater than anything our components were designed to handle. We've had to create custom buffers, but they're essentially untested prototypes. And weapons? Chen asked. That's the good news. Mira and Pablo managed to salvage 2 voidborne gravity projectors, smaller versions of what hit Singapore, but the principle is the same. If they work, we could cause significant damage. Chen nodded, making mental calculations. They had 3 days left before the ultimatum expired. Admiral Hassan needed a proof of concept by tomorrow. The ship wasn't ready for a full launch, but perhaps a controlled test. Her thoughts were interrupted by alarms. Commander, Rivera called over the comm. Multiple voidborne vessels approaching. Different pattern than the regular patrols. Chen felt her stomach drop. They found us. Not necessarily, Rivera replied. They're not coming directly here. It's more like they're establishing a perimeter, setting up a grid search pattern. How long until they reach our position? At current speeds, 12 hours, maybe less. Chen turned to Rita. We just lost our timeline. How soon can the ship be ready for emergency launch? The engineer's eyes widened. Launch? Commander, we're days away from. We don't have days. We have hours. What's the minimum we need for the ship to function? Rita hesitated, then accessed her tablet. Engine core is operational. Life support can be jury-rigged from the Defiance systems. Navigation. That's trickier. The interface between our control systems and their propulsion is still glitchy. Weapons are installed but untested. Focus all personnel on those systems, Chen ordered. Anything non-essential can wait. I want launch capability in 10 hours. As Rita hurried to relay the orders, Chen contacted Admiral Hassan. They're closing in, sir. We need to accelerate our timeline. The Admiral's face was grim. The Security Council has voted. They're preparing to broadcast acceptance of the Voidborn terms. Sir, we just need a little more time. There is no more time, Commander. The broadcast is scheduled for 800 tomorrow. After that, any aggressive action on our part will be seen as a violation of the surrender terms. Chen felt a surge of anger. With all due respect, sir, we're fighting for humanity's survival. The Voidborn wiped out Singapore as a demonstration. Do you really think they'll be merciful once we surrender? Admiral Hassan was silent for a long moment. No, he said finally. I don't. But I'm one voice among many, and the Council believes surrender offers at least a chance for some humans to survive. And if we can prove our ship works, show that we have a viable weapon against them, then I might be able to delay the broadcast. But I need something concrete, Commander, not promises. Understood, sir. You'll have it. After ending the call, Chen gathered the team leaders. We've run out of runway, she told them. The Voidborn are closing in, and Earth's leadership is preparing to surrender. We launch in 10 hours, ready or not. The reaction was immediate and vocal. That's suicide. Half the systems aren't even connected. We haven't run a single full power test. Chen let them vent for exactly 30 seconds, then raised her hand for silence. I understand your concerns. They're valid. But this isn't a request. It's an order. In 10 hours, this ship launches, even if I have to pilot it myself. She looked at each of them in turn. I don't expect miracles. I expect your best work under impossible conditions. Focus on the critical systems, propulsion, basic life support, shields, and primary weapons. Everything else is secondary. Slowly, reluctantly, they nodded. What are we calling this monstrosity anyway? Kai asked, breaking the tension. Chen hadn't given it much thought. Names seemed trivial in the face of extinction. But looking at the hybrid vessel, part human determination, part alien superiority, a name came to her. Chimera, she said. We're calling it Chimera. The next 10 hours were a blur of frantic activity. Teams worked in shifts, focusing on critical systems while abandoning anything deemed non-essential. The Chimera's interior was stripped down to basics: exposed conduits, temporary control interfaces, and minimal crew accommodations. Chen supervised from the makeshift command center, tracking both their progress and the approaching Voidborn vessels. They've accelerated, Rivera reported. New ETA, 3 hours. Chen swore under her breath. Status of the Chimera. Engine core is online, Aisha reported. Power levels stable at 60%. That's the best we can do without a full calibration sequence. Navigation systems are responding. Mira added. The neural interface is glitchy but functional. We can plot basic courses. Weapons. Kai's voice came through, tense with fatigue. Primary gravity projector is installed. Power feed is stable. Targeting system is, well, It's better than nothing. Chen made her decision. Begin launch preparations. All non-essential personnel evacuate to the Defiant. Core team report to the Chimera in 15 minutes. As the others dispersed, River approached her. Commander, the core team. Who exactly? Myself. Aisha for the engine. Mira for navigation. Kai for weapons. And you for communications. Chen replied. 5 people. That's all we can risk on an untested vessel. And the others? The Defiant will attempt to rendezvous with the remaining human fleet. If we fail, at least some of our knowledge about the Voidborn technology might survive. Rivera nodded, understanding the unspoken message. The Chimera was likely a one-way mission. 30 minutes later, Chen stood on the Chimera's bridge, a hybrid space that reflected the vessel itself. Human control consoles had been modified with alien interfaces. Holographic displays flickered with symbols that no human had fully deciphered. At the center, where a captain's chair would normally be, sat a modified version of the crystalline control node. Final checks, Chen ordered as her small crew took their stations. Engine core stable, Aisha reported from her position. Power distribution holding at 65%. Navigation systems online. Mira confirmed. The neural interface is ready, though I still don't fully understand how it works. Weapons charged to 70%, Kai added. Targeting systems are rudimentary, but operational. Communications, limited, Rivera said. We can receive standard frequencies and some Voidborn transmissions, but our broadcast capability is spotty. Chen took a deep breath. Seal all hatches. Flood the submarine pen. Water rushed into the assembly bay, surrounding the Chimera. The vessel shuddered slightly, adjusting to the pressure. Activate the engine core, Chen ordered. Aisha placed her hand on the modified control interface. The crystalline node pulsed with blue-white light, responding to her intentions rather than physical commands. Throughout the ship, alien technology awakened, humming with power that made the human components vibrate in sympathy. Core active, Aisha reported. Power levels rising, stabilizing at 75%. Chen felt the ship come alive around them, not in the metaphorical sense of human vessels, but in an almost literal way. The Voidborn technology seemed to breathe, to think, to consider its new purpose. Open the outer doors, she commanded. Ahead of them, massive steel doors, a relic from when the facility had housed nuclear submarines, began to slide apart, revealing the dark waters of the Marianas Trench. All stations, prepare for launch. Our first objective is to reach the surface undetected. Then we make contact with Admiral Hassan and demonstrate what this ship can do. Chen approached the crystalline node at the center of the bridge. Aisha had modified it with human interface components, creating a hybrid control system that responded to both direct commands and neural intentions. Here goes nothing, Chen murmured, placing her hands on the interface. The effect was immediate and disorienting. Chen felt her consciousness expand, connecting with the ship's systems in ways she couldn't articulate. It wasn't just that she could control the Chimera, she could feel it, as if it were an extension of her own body. Forward thrusters, she said, though she realized speaking aloud was unnecessary. The ship was already responding to her intention, gliding forward through the open doors and into the trench. As they emerged from the facility, warning alerts flashed across multiple displays. Voidborn vessels, Rivera reported, tension evident in his voice. 3 ships directly above us. They're scanning the ocean floor. Maintain depth, Chen ordered. Keep us in the mineral-rich currents. Their sensors have difficulty penetrating this environment. The Chimera moved through the dark waters with surprising grace, its hybrid systems adapting to underwater conditions better than expected. Chen guided it along the trench floor, using the natural terrain to mask their signature. We're doing it, Kai said quietly. It's actually working. Don't celebrate yet, Chen cautioned. We still need to reach the surface and prove this ship can fight. For nearly an hour, they navigated the underwater canyons, evading voidborne search patterns. Then, as they approached a suitable ascent point, alarms blared across the bridge. "We've been detected," Rivera announced. "They're dropping depth charges, some kind of energy weapon designed to function underwater." The water around them pulsed with eerie blue light as voidborne energy weapons activated. The Chimera rocked as near misses created shockwaves in the surrounding ocean. "We've lost the element of surprise," Chen said grimly. "New plan. All power to engines and shields. We're surfacing. Now." She felt the ship respond, not just to her commands, but to the urgency behind them. The Chimera angled upward, surging toward the surface with acceleration that would have been impossible for a conventional vessel. "Impact in 5 seconds, Mira warned. "Brace," Chen ordered. The Chimera broke the ocean's surface like a breaching whale, water cascading off its hybrid hull as it rose into the air. For a moment, it hung suspended, caught between sea and sky, before its levitation systems fully engage. On the bridge, the crew stared in awe at the view screens showing the outside world. Bright sunlight, open sky, and 3 voidborne warships hovering nearby, their sleek forms momentarily motionless in apparent surprise. They didn't expect this, Chen realized. They'd never seen anything like the Chimera before. The moment of surprise passed quickly. The voidborne vessels oriented toward them, weapon ports opening along their hulls. "They're charging weapons," Kai reported. "Multiple targeting locks. Evasive maneuvers," Chen commanded, feeling the ship respond as she directed it into a steep climb. The first voidborne energy beams missed by meters, their blue-white light slicing through the space the Chimera had occupied moments before. The hybrid ship banked hard, its movements more agile than its makeshift appearance suggested. "Our turn," Chen said. "Target the nearest vessel. Gravity projector at 50% power." Kai worked the weapon's interface, his hands dancing across the hybrid controls. Target locked. Firing. The Chimera shuddered as its primary weapon discharged. A distortion rippled through the air, invisible except for the way it bent light around it. When it reached the voidborne ship, the effect was immediate. A section of the alien vessel's hull compressed inward, as if squeezed by a giant hand, before tearing free completely. "Direct hit," Kai shouted. "Their port section is compromised." The damaged voidborne ship listed to one side, energy bleeding from the wound the Chimera had inflicted. Its companions responded with increased fire, forcing Chen to execute a series of evasive maneuvers that tested the hybrid ship's structural integrity. "Shield status," she demanded. "Holding at 60%, Asia reported. "But power fluctuations throughout the system. We can't take sustained fire." Chen nodded, making quick calculations. They had hurt one enemy vessel, the first significant damage humans had inflicted since the invasion began. But they were outnumbered and undertested. "We've made our point," she decided. "Establish communication with Admiral Hassan. He needs to see this." Rivera worked his console. Communication established. Video feed transmitting. Admiral Hassan's face appeared on a secondary display, his expression shifting from concern to astonishment as he took in the scene. "Commander Chen, is that? Are you in orbit?" "Not yet, sir," Chen replied, banking the Chimera to avoid another energy blast. "But the Chimera is functional, and as you can see, effective against voidborne vessels." Behind the Admiral, Chen could see other figures gathering, their faces showing similar disbelief. "The Council is watching," Hassan confirmed. "They've paused the surrender broadcast, but they need more convincing. One damaged voidborne ship won't change the strategic equation." Chen understood what remained unsaid. A single prototype, however impressive, wasn't enough to justify continuing a war they were losing so badly. Unless, "Sir, what's the status of the voidborne command ship?" Hassan frowned. "Still in high orbit. Heavily defended." "Why?" "Because we're going to destroy it," Chen said, conviction filling her voice. The Chimera has demonstrated it can cause damage the Voidborn aren't prepared for. If we can take out their command structure, that's suicide. Commander, the Admiral interrupted. You have one untested ship against their entire fleet. With respect, sir, suicide is surrendering to a species that vaporized Singapore as a demonstration. What we're offering is a fighting chance. Hassan was silent for a long moment, conflict evident on his face. Finally, he nodded. What do you need from us? A diversion, Chen replied. Gather whatever operational ships we have left. Launch them toward the Voidborn fleet. Not to attack, just to draw attention away from our approach. That puts a lot of people at risk for one shot. We're all at risk already, sir. This way, we at least choose the terms of engagement. After another pause, Hassan nodded. I'll make it happen. You have 1 hour to prepare. After that, we commit our remaining forces. Understood, sir. Chimera out. As the communication ended, Chen turned to her crew. You heard the plan. We have 1 hour to make this ship as combat-ready as possible. Then we're taking the fight to the Voidborn command vessel. That's ambitious, Kai said carefully. It's insane, Mira corrected. I'm in. One by one, the others nodded. They had all lost too much to the Voidborn to back down now. One problem, Aisha pointed out. We're still being pursued by these 3 ships, and our power systems need calibration before we attempt anything as drastic as reaching orbit. Chen considered their options. We need somewhere to regroup, somewhere the Voidborn wouldn't expect. An idea formed, risky, potentially disastrous, but unexpected. Set course for the Atacama Energy Facility, she ordered. Maximum speed. The Chimera accelerated, leaving the damaged Voidborn vessel behind, while outpacing its companions. Within minutes, they were streaming over the Pacific Ocean at velocities that pushed the hybrid ship's untested systems to their limits. Why the Atacama facility? Rivera asked. It was one of the first targets hit in the invasion. There's nothing left there. Exactly, Chen said. It's a dead zone as far as the Voidborn are concerned. They destroyed it and moved on. But beneath the surface, understanding dawned on Rivera's face. The underground fusion reactor, if it's still intact. We can use it to fully charge our systems, Chen finished. It's exactly the kind of power source we need for the Chimera's alien components. 20 minutes later, they arrived at the ruins of what had once been Earth's largest clean energy installation. The surface was a wasteland of twisted metal and shattered concrete, evidence of the Voidborn's thorough destruction. Chen guided the Chimera to land beside a half-collapsed maintenance shaft. Scan for energy signatures, she ordered. Aisha worked her console. The main reactor is offline, but the auxiliary systems appear to be in standby mode. There's power down there. Kai, you're with me, Chen said, standing. We'll go down and assess whether it's usable. The rest of you, begin whatever repairs and calibrations you can. We have less than 40 minutes before the fleet moves. The descent into the facility was treacherous. Unstable rubble, exposed power conduits, and the omnipresent threat of collapse. Chen and Kai picked their way carefully through the ruins, following the faint glow of emergency lighting. Here, Kai said eventually, pointing to a massive door partially hidden by debris. This should be the auxiliary control room. Working together, they cleared enough rubble to squeeze through. Inside, emergency power kept basic systems running, enough for them to access the facility's diagnostics. The main reactor is damaged but not destroyed, Kai reported, scanning through the systems. The automatic shutdown protocols worked. There's still approximately 30% capacity in the emergency storage cells. Can we tap into it? Chen asked. Kai studied the schematics. Yes, but not from here. We'd need to physically connect the Chimera to the output junction in the main reactor chamber.